Greetings and welcome to this tutorial and demonstration of the Generate Yearly Report project as found and derived from the UiPath Academy website. Let's first begin by logging back into the UiPath Academy website. Get logged back in here. Again, using the same account credentials that we've used previously. Going into the top right corner here, log in and sign up. Continuing with email, so uipath@gmail.com in my case. What I want to do here once we get logged back in is to return back to the deep dive course again. We'll obviously do this here at the beginning and then return back here once we complete our performer bots later on down the road. So again, to get back to the deep dive course, the easiest approach is to pull up the courses tab here at the top. And then once we get our search box here, simply type in the word deep, and you should find where we left off before. Our Robotic Enterprise Framework deep dive here, currently in progress from the work we have done previously, where we've got the calculate client security hash completed and submitted. The next one that we want to walk through now is the Generate Yearly Report. Again, our main reason for coming here, we want to simply click through and get to the point where we are ready to upload our assignment right here. So what I'm getting ready to demonstrate here in just a moment will be all the details as it pertains to the requirements for this project. That's what these documents here are talking about, some of the exercise hints and tips. Those are exactly what I'll be discussing as we get into the dispatcher and performer conversations coming up next. So right now, just simply pull up the start here on the first option here for the Generate Yearly Report. And again, the main takeaway here is we want to simply click through these so we can be ready to submit our project again at the time we complete the final performer bots. So simply scrolling through, go ahead and exit this page and close. Again, I'll be walking us through all the details as it pertains to the hints and tips and all the project requirements here in just a moment. So one more page here. Scroll our way through, go ahead and hit exit on this one, close, and we should now be to the point we are ready to upload our assignment. We are right here, upload. I can get to that page here now, it looks like. So here, once we wrap up the performer bot again, we'll upload our assignment here and get our final score. So that's our main takeaway here, getting ready to complete the project. But if you're curious as to getting some of the project documentation, just like we did previously, our design documentation is available right here. The main thing here is the project for the Generate Yearly Report resides inside of the Acme One webpage again. So go ahead and pull the Acme One webpage up again. Go ahead and get yourself logged in. And once we're logged in, let me begin walking you through the actual requirements of this particular project. So the way this assignment works, it's very similar to what we did with the hash bot that we just did a moment ago, generating the hash values. What I mean by that is if you go into the work items screen here, you'll notice I have not reset my test data yet. So what we're seeing here is all the WI5 records being in a completed status. We now, with this project here, generate yearly report, instead of looking at the WI5s that are in open status, we now want to look at WI4 records that are in open status. So you notice in our description here, generate yearly report for vendor. So with that said, you're already hopefully starting to connect the dots as to what our dispatcher bot ultimately would be looking for, is trying to identify the WI4 records that are in open status. Things get a little bit more interesting here. You notice as I open up one of the WI4 records, instead of having the client ID, name, and country, we now have a tax ID, name, address, and city. The important value that we're going to find that we want to take out of the work item details page on a WI4 record, generating yearly report type records, is this tax ID value. So I'm going to simply copy this to my clipboard. Again, we know inside Studio, when we start building our automations, we'll be able to hold this value inside of a variable. So once we have the tax ID identified, so we're already starting to talking more performer bot now. What do we need the performer bot to do? And in this case, grabbing the tax ID is going to be the first task. What we are going to do is then come back to the dashboard. We're going to come down here to a report, and we want to download the monthly reports first. We're going to come back to this idea of uploading yearly report here in just a moment. So start with the download monthly report option. Here's where that tax ID becomes also important. So in this case, paste in, and we'll have obviously the bot type that value in. With the years right here, we want to actually look at last year's data. So in our logic here, we want to simply tell it to go current year -1. So we'll have some logic that looks at the previous year's data. So we'll have to come in here and specify the year 2020. And then the crazy part of this application or automation that we're going to build is it actually has to go through each and every single month, downloading the monthly reports for the entire calendar year, the entire previous year's calendar data. So pulling up January here of year 2020 for this particular tax ID. So we'll have to do this for each and every single one of the WI4 records that are found in the work items list. Again, that's what the dispatcher bot will be responsible for doing. What we're doing here will be the logic that's needed for our performer bot. So again, picking January, going to the prior year, download report. And in this case, this report or this month does not have a report, and that's fine. Not every month will have a report. So we simply say, okay, tell it to go on to February and see if there's a report here. There is no report here, but notice here, this box is a little bit different from the one we had before. So this is another visual cue, things that when we get into our performer bot, things that we're going to have to handle, some different type of message boxes that are appearing here. February, March. In this case, we do have data, so we'll have to actually come in here and do a save as. I'll have to save these files off somewhere. For now, I'm just going to keep mine in the UiPath folder is fine for now. I'll clean this up later. We'll want to obviously come up with a unique file name here. So this one, you know, this is talking the current tax ID and month 3 being March is how this is being identified. Good enough for now. Notice it's downloading a CSV file. So it's now saved that file right there. I'm going to go ahead and open it so we can see the file. Should open in Excel, and it does. Just so we can have a quick visual of what the monthly file looks like. In this case, there's only a single record in here, but notice it has column headers. We've got our data right here. So just to be able to put a little bit more context around this, let's bring in April. Let's see if we have any April data. And there's no April. So it continues on down the line. This is exactly what we'll have to program the bot to do. We do have a report for May. So notice the Current tax ID 5 for the month of May being the 5th month of the year. Go ahead and hit save, and I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. So there's our one from before. This one also only has a single record. This is not necessarily the case. We're going to find that there will be multiple records in some files. But what we need to do is begin building a yearly report. So in this case, to give you an idea, if we copied this value here and appended it to the data that we had before, we're going to continue to do this across the calendar year. So notice there's our one from March, there's May, and whatever months have data on down the line. I'm not going to go through and build an entire report here just to give you the visual. This is what we're going to do. We're going to concatenate all the reports that are downloaded across the entire year and build a Excel file, an actual XLSX file, the actual Excel spreadsheet. Once we have that yearly report, so the fully concatenated list pulled together, we will then come back to the reports and go to upload yearly reports. Instead of download, we're going to upload the yearly report, the file that contains all the data. Again, we will paste in that same tax ID that I had a minute ago. I've now lost it on my clipboard because of what I did with the CSV files. Specify again current year -1. So last year, so it's all the data from the entire calendar year from last year. And then we'll have to tell it to select the report file. I don't have any right now. But if, let's say this was the yearly report here, I would upload that as a Excel spreadsheet, not a CSV. Let me see if I can get this thing to generate just a dummy data here. It may not do it. Yeah, some problems in the counter. I need a valid tax ID and report, but what's going to happen when we hit the upload report button here, it's going to generate another hash value for us. So similar to what we did with the Hashbot project a moment ago, this right here is going to generate another hash value that we'll have to extract off the message box here. Once we grab that hash value that'll show up in this message box on a successful upload, we then go exactly through the same process that we've done before. We go into our user options, not our user options, into our work item detail page again. So I'm going to pull up that same WI4 record I was working with. I'm going to go through the same process that we did previously. We do the update work item here, put in the hash value that we extracted here, change our status to completed, and simply hit the update work item button. So the goodness is we've already developed a lot of the code that needs to be done for our generate yearly report project. So being able to leverage and reuse a lot of that code is going to come in handy, and we'll go through the conversations as it pertains to how to accomplish that particular task. So that's really the gist of what's needed in order to get this project completed. Another quick thing that I want to ensure we look at really quick here is to go back out and make sure our orchestrator is properly set up. So go into cloud.uipath.com and get ourselves logged in again here. Got my same email, so we're in good shape there. Simply provide valid password. Hopefully everybody still has their existing items here, but just a quick double check, make sure that the environment on the orchestrator side is properly set up so we can immediately begin working on our project. This is the main check that I'm doing right here. Once we get this page loaded, again, go down to where it talks about orchestrator services. I've got mine simply called default tenant, as yours most likely is as well. Once we go into here, there's a couple values that I want to quickly check. Again, with what you heard me say a moment ago, there's going to be a lot of reusability here. we'll actually be able to reuse the same queue and asset name to be able to log into the Acme One web page as well. Give Orchestrator just a second to load. Here we go. What I want to confirm first before we complete this little video and demonstration here is that you indeed have a queue. Here's the same one we had as before, Acme One. So in the previous demonstration for that project, I had 20 items that were successfully processed. You can leave your queue just like this, or if you want, you can completely clean it out and rebuild it. I'm going to go ahead and rebuild mine. There's no necessary reason that I have to do this other than just making sure that I got everything reset back at 0 here. So remaining 0, I'm going to copy my queue name right here. There isn't necessarily a reset queue button, so in order to do this, I need to remove the queue. Go ahead and do that. No queues there at the moment, so re-adding my same queue name again. I'm going to leave all the default values the same and simply click add. So now I've got my Acme One queue again, same queue name, and everything is now zeroed out and fresh, ready to go for the next process. Again, the other thing here, being the assets tab here, hopefully everybody still has their Acme One login credentials here already saved from our previous work. But if for some reason you do not have this, go ahead and create an Acme One login here by hitting the plus button up here in the top right corner. Quickly walk you through that just in case anybody needs this here. We need the ability to log into the Acme One web page. To set the account name as Acme One _ login. The type being credential. This is what's going to allow us to securely save the username and password in the Orchestrator database. So whatever username goes here needs to match, again, the username back here on the Acme One web page that will get you successfully logged into the Acme One site. So whatever your username and password is here needs to be the exact values that show up here. And as a friendly reminder, again, whatever username you use here also needs to be the same username and password that's used for the UiPath Academy login. Otherwise, the connection between this website here and the Acme One website will not be connected, and it will be unable to successfully grade your assignment and give you credit for the work that you've done inside the UiPath Academy webpage when we get to that point. So again, making sure the username and password matches across both sites. So again, username and password inside Orchestrator that match the username and password here. Once you have that, go ahead and hit create. Obviously mine's already there, so I'm going to leave without saving. So everything from an Orchestrator standpoint appears to be set and ready to go when I begin to build the dispatcher and then subsequently the performer bot after that. So with this said, we are now at a point where we're ready to begin building our automation. So with that said, go ahead and pull up UiPath Studio, and in the next video, we will embark on building our dispatcher bots.